Hey guys, Sonic's here. Today we're going to do an Apex Legends Season 22 weapons tier list. Now starting at the very bottom, F tier, this is absolutely the worst weapon in the game. There's only one weapon in this list, which is the charge rifle. This gun is so bad that it literally, it's hard to get a kill with it. You're better off using your fists. I was only able to get a kill like right here when someone's healing and I'm shooting their back, or right here when someone's standing still. So it's literally not worth using the charge rifle. You're going to be much better off using other sniper rifles in higher tiers. Now moving us up into E tier, these weapons are not really that great either. I would definitely try to swap these out for other things as soon as you get the chance, but these are not really that great. Now the first weapon in this tier is a 30-30 repeater. This weapon used to be really good in other seasons, but now since they removed Skull Piercer from this weapon, which increases headshot damage, this weapon isn't all that great. There's really nothing going for it. It takes a while for it to even do damage because you have to charge it up in order to do maximum damage. And at close range, you're better off meleeing someone. I got lucky here in a lot of these shots, and it took me a good day to just get some of these clips when I'm doing my close range damage. It is really, really difficult to use this weapon. Long range, close range, and mid range, it doesn't really fit in a specific criteria, so you're much off better using something like the G7 or the Sentinel. So the 30-30 definitely belongs in E tier. Now the next weapon in E tier is also the longbow. So the longbow suffers the same exact thing as the 30-30, that it doesn't have the Skull Piercer round, which increases headshot damage. So it's still okay of a weapon. Like right here, close range, if you're shooting someone's back, it's not going to win a 1v1, I guarantee you that. And even long range, it takes a while for it to actually connect shots. As you can see here, I'm aiming directly at their body, but it takes a second for it to actually connect. So it feels weird using this weapon. I would definitely drop this weapon when you get the chance for like a Sentinel or a G7. Like I said, like the 30-30, you do not want to keep that for mid to late game, okay? Now moving on to D tier, these weapons are just okay. They're not really that great either. I would definitely recommend dropping them when you get the chance, for there's better alternatives out there, okay? Now the first weapon on this list is the Prowler. Now this weapon is really difficult to use. As you can see here, it takes forever for me to shoot this guy, and that's just in almost all matches I pick up the Prowler. Now, there's instances like this where I can immediately fry that person, which is when my accuracy is really, really good, and that's the only time that the Prowler is really good, is when your accuracy is on point. If not, I would definitely not pick up the Prowler at all. See, it's really difficult to track because the Prowler is a burst weapon, okay? So choose the car instead. So the next weapon in this list is the Hemlock. Now this weapon is very similar to the Prowler, where it is a burst weapon, so it takes forever to feel like you're going to get a kill. Unless you're very, very accurate, I would definitely stay away from this weapon. Now this weapon also got a nerf this season, where the magazine size was reduced. So at white, you had 24, now it's at 21 bullets. At blue, you had 27, now it's at 24. So it definitely got a nerf. I would definitely stay away from the Hemlock unless you're very, very accurate or can hit your shots perfectly. Now the last weapon in D tier is the Bowcheck bow. Now the bow is good in its own way if the enemies aren't shooting at you. Let's be real here. If they're shooting at you, it's going to take forever for you to line up your shots unless you're getting headshots 24/7. It does have the capability of close range here with the shatter caps, but you're better off using an SMG. There's so many better options in the care package besides the bow. Now moving on to C tier, these weapons are starting to feel like, okay, I can actually start to use these weapons in my fights. Now, it takes a bit of time to get used to using these weapons, so you're not going to be right off the bat really great at them. You have to take time to get used to them. Now starting off with our first weapon, we have the P2020. Now this is only in this tier because of the dual wield capabilities. If it only was a single P2020, this would definitely go in F tier with a charge rifle. Now with dual wield, it feels a lot better because now you can have higher DPS, but it definitely still feels like a pea shooter at times. See right here, I was able to fry that guy, but only when I was able to hit all my shots with hammer point rounds. So it's really not worth it. And there's like this weird reload thing where you can accidentally reload mid-fight. So it definitely catches you off guard. But the P2020 dual wield is much better than it was in previous seasons. Now the next weapon in this list is the triple take. The triple take, I will say, is much better than using the 30-30 or the longbow. So this is a great alternative for if you want to start to use marksman rifles. However, I don't know if you guys know, but in this season, there was a nerf in energy rounds where you can't carry as much per stack and in your backpack, so it did slightly get a nerf in that regard. And also, it falls in a weird place where it can serve as like a shotgun. As you can see, I'm using it as a close range, but it's really not as great as using like a Peacekeeper or a Mastiff, because you kind of have to really be accurate. See, as you can tell here, it takes me forever to shoot this guy at close range. So it's like a very niche weapon, okay? So I wouldn't really recommend using this unless you're very accurate at mid to close range fights. Now the next weapon in this list is the alternator. This weapon is just okay. It's not really all that great. You could use definitely other weapons like the car or the R3. So we'll use the alternator as kind of a weapon to kind of stow away until you get the chance to pick up a much stronger weapon. It did get a slight buff actually this season where, you know, you get one more ammo per magazine. So, but it still doesn't feel that great. As you can tell here, long range, it doesn't do that well. Close range, the car is much better. You know, it's really not all that great. It's a great, okay weapon to use until you can swap it out for something else, okay? Now the last weapon on this list is the Rampage. Now the Rampage, as you can tell, you have to do other unique stuff for you to get a kill here, close range, especially when it's not charged up. But once you charge it up with a thermite, it does insane amount of damage. As you can tell here, I was able to do long range damage, but you have to always carry a thermite for it to really work well. See, I was able to shoot this guy, but he was, you know, not even shooting at me. And, you know, as you can tell here, I was able to do like a nice little 1v3, but it takes forever. The fire rate is atrocious for this weapon. The only nice thing about this is that the projectile was increased when it's charged up, so it got a slight buff. And you have the gun shield, which helps you minimize damage when you're getting shot at, okay? Okay, moving on to B tier, these weapons are pretty solid in their own way. So they can hold their own, and there's nothing really wrong about them, but there are better weapons out there, but these weapons are pretty solid. So the first weapon in this list is the Nemesis. Now the Nemesis is an energy weapon, so it did, like I said, get that slight nerf with the ammo count that you can carry. However, it doesn't even matter because the Nemesis is much stronger than the Hemlock because it increases the fire rate the more that you shoot it, and it just feels much more accurate when you shoot the Nemesis. Look at some of these clips here. It feels much more thorough, and you can actually line up your shots to the target much stronger than the Hemlock would. So I would definitely recommend the Nemesis as the burst AR of choice versus the Hemlock when you get the chance, okay? Now we have the Wingman. Now the Wingman is great for all ranges. As you can tell, it was a long range shot right there. Here's a close range shot. Here's a mid range shot right here. So you pretty much can't go wrong with a Wingman. It's versatile in almost all situations if you hit your shots. So you have to make sure you hit your shots because you only have 6 bullets per magazine. You can't put an extended mag on this thing like it was back in the care package because that'd be really OP. But you can put an attachment called a boosted loader. Now you can find this on the ground, and this basically means like right before you run out of ammo, if you reload and time it perfectly, you can basically have an extended mag where you can carry much more bullets per magazine and shred your enemies. Now the next weapon in this list is the G7 Scout. This weapon is really solid all around. There's really nothing wrong with it. Plus, light ammo did get a buff this season where you can carry much more per stack, and it's really great for close range fights like this. I mean, if you hit your shots, you know, any weapon is great in the right hands if you hit your shots. But if you want to farm damage, for example, or if you're playing ranked and you want some kind of range, the G7, you can't go wrong with it. So if you're trying to, you know, compare the 30-30 versus G7, it's night and day. The G7 is going to win almost every single fight. Now the next weapon is the RE45. This weapon is an absolute monster. Once you put hammer point on there, oh, you're gonna shred people just like the R9 from the care package. So this weapon is really strong. Plus this season it actually got a buff as well, so the magazine is now increased. So from base it went from 16 to 18 bullets. From white it went from 19 to 20 bullets. From blue it went from 22 to 23 bullets. From purple/gold it went from 25 to 26. So the RE45 just feels much better than using like the P20 dual wield akimbo. So if you want to run something with hammer point, run the RE45. It's gonna feel much stronger connecting your shot, and you feel much more accurate in doing so. Now the next weapon in this list is our good old friend Spitfire. This weapon is really great now. It doesn't feel as strong as it was when it first was released, but let me tell you, it's getting there. Now, especially the fact that you have this gun shield generator which decreases damage when you're getting shot at, like Gibby's arm shield. This makes the Spitfire really strong as a viable choice, and you basically almost never have to reload this gun, until the fight ends. This weapon, look right here, I was able to swap to the next person, and then I'm not even reload. So this weapon is a really solid choice all around. Now the last weapon in this tier is the EVA 8. The EVA 8 has now left the care package and is now ground loot. Now this weapon is really solid still. Okay, it's not as strong as the care package, of course, because it doesn't have hammer point or, you know, that bolt, like the gold bolt that comes with it in the care package, but it can have boosted loader, meaning that if you reload this weapon at 4 bullets, you can actually have 10 instead of 8 in your magazine. So it's pretty similar to like the wingman. So let me show you exactly. So here I reloaded at 4, I have 10 now. So it's a solid choice. It's not as strong as the Mastiff or the Peacekeeper, but if you peak damage, you peak cover, you're gonna do great. Okay, now we're moving on to A tier. These weapons are really good. Okay, really good. Like, I would recommend running these weapons almost every game when you get the chance, or if you're trying to swap out one of those lower tier weapons, use these weapons for sure. Our first weapon in this list is a Sentinel. Now, this weapon is just really good. Versus the longbow, night and day difference, guys. The Sentinel feels like a Kraber, but obviously you don't have to worry about running out of ammo. I would even recommend running just 2 stacks of ammo for this weapon. See, I just did 158 as a headshot. You do have to charge it to do more damage, but it only takes 1 cell for you to maximize that, you know, that damage capability. And you can even run this to like mid to close range fights. Like right here, let me show you, like little quick scope right there. So it feels kind of like when you're playing COD. Remember back then you do little quick scopes and stuff? The Sentinel is a great all around sniper for long to mid range fights. Our next weapon is a flatline. Now this weapon is just solid all around. There's really nothing wrong with it. So you can run this like close range, mid range, if you wanted to long range too, if you practice hard enough. It's not really not meant for long range because it doesn't have the option to put a barrel stabilizer on there. So you're much off better using like an R3 if you want longer range action, but you can use this as an alternative for SMGs. Look how it just shredded that guy. So the flatline is great, but it did get a slight nerf this season where the magazine was now decreased for just one bullet. You're not really going to feel that difference when you're hitting every flatline shot, and it does much more damage per bullet than an R3. So overall, the flatline is a great assault rifle of choice if you just want something to just shred people. Now our next weapon here is a Havoc. The Havoc actually got a huge nerf this season where the hipfire accuracy was significantly reduced. That's how strong of a weapon this was last season. This was a powerhouse machine. So, you know, with the nerf of the ammo plus the you know, you would think this would be a lower tier weapon, but the Havoc is just that strong. If you pre-fire this without turbocharger, of course, you can literally shred people just as fast as Sheila, because there's nothing that can beat this weapon when it comes to damage per second. This weapon is a powerhouse of a machine. And look, I'm doing close range here, and it doesn't even feel like the hipfire was really that nerfed. It's definitely a solid weapon of choice. There's really nothing you can go wrong when you run the Havoc. Now the next weapon is the L-Star LMG. This weapon has always been good in all seasons, but in this season specifically, it is much stronger because you can put the gun shield generator, which decreases damage when you're getting shot at if you ADS. So this weapon is much stronger, plus the fact that you don't have to reload it if you time it correctly and just let it cool off for a second, like right there, and then I keep on shooting. This weapon is an absolute monster of a weapon. So I would definitely recommend running the L-Star as like an LMG / SMG alternative if you want. This weapon is really solid. Now our next weapon is a Kraber. The Kraber is the Kraber, guys. We've had this since season 0. You can't go wrong with a Kraber. The only thing that prevents it from going to S tier is that it is difficult to use. You know, you have to be really accurate to use a Kraber, but it is the strongest weapon technically in the game. You know, per bullet, this does the most damage that you can ever do in any other gun. So, you know, definitely recommend running the Kraber if you can hit your shots correctly. If not, give it to your teammate that can. Now our next weapon is the Volt. Now the Volt is a great weapon all around. It's probably one of the strongest SMGs out there, much better than Prowler, 100% night and day difference. The only thing that's holding the Volt back from being an S tier weapon is that its ammo count, its energy. Energy is already kind of difficult to find, and also they did get that nerf this season where you can't carry as much ammo. But other than that, the Volt is probably one of the strongest weapons in the game that you can run at this time. So try out the Volt. You're not going to regret it at all, okay? The Volt is really, really powerful of a weapon. Now here's the Mozambique, okay? So the Mozambique with, you know, the dual wield option brings it up to A tier 100%. If it was just a single Mozambique, it'd probably be down there at like C or D tier because this weapon before was really not all that great. But the fact that you can carry 2 Mozams now makes it so much more powerful. It does kind of take a while to get used to. Like right here, I miss a lot of my shots. It's kind of like the P20. Using akimbos is weird. You have to kind of, you know, reprogram your brain a little bit to use them. But once you do, and you start connecting these shots with the Mozam, it feels so much better than it was before. And the fact that you can put hammer points on these things, oh my gosh, these become little shredding machines that, you know, that you can carry in your back pocket. The double Mozam this season is meta for sure, so I would definitely recommend running these when you get the chance. There's Mozambiques everywhere on the ground floor, so definitely not gonna run out of those. Now our last weapon here is the Mastiff. Now this weapon is a whole powerhouse of a weapon. You literally can't go wrong when you're in the Mastiff. Plus this season it actually got a huge buff where every little pellet does 15 damage instead of 11, and the pellet count was reduced to 6 from 8. Meaning that every time you shoot somebody, you don't need to hit that many pellets on them anymore to maximize the amount of damage you're doing on them. Now, I was running this season in a few game modes, and it feels much more consistent. I'm hitting, you know, targets left and right. Look, I was able to kill these two like in a blink of an eye. You know, this guy was like long range-ish, and I was able to do like 60 damage right there. So the Mastiff is a great all-around choice. I would recommend running the PK over the Mastiff still because it's my personal favorite, but the Mastiff, you can't go wrong with it. And now we're here at S tier. Now these are the absolute best weapons right now in the game. There's nothing wrong with them at all. And if you're not running them, what are you doing? Okay, if you run these weapons, I guarantee that you're probably gonna get a 4K or 20 bomb because these weapons will work for you. You're not even really doing anything. These weapons are just that strong. Now the first monster that we have is the car. Now the car is already good because it has the dual ammo capability. It can run light or heavy magazines, but the car got a buff this season as well. Now the magazine has now increased. From white, it went from 21 to 22, from blue from 23 to 24, from purple/gold from 26 to 27. That one extra difference makes a huge difference when in your fights, and you could pretty much shred almost every single person if you run the car in your loadout. So the versatility plus the DPS plus the ammo thing, the car is absolutely the best SMG in the game right now. But you want a weapon just as good as the car or even better? The R99. Now this R99 finally moved to the care package, so this weapon right now is an absolute machine, okay? Like it has 30 bullets in its magazine, so you won't run out of ammo any day, and the fire rate is so high that it will shred people before they can even start shooting at you. So the R99 is a good solid option. If you see in the care package, pick it up. You know, if you have a car, replace your car with the R99 and you won't regret it. Now the next absolute monster is the Devotion. And this weapon we thought was already at its peak, right? In previous seasons. Well, guess what? They actually buffed it, meaning that empty reload speed has been decreased. The gun shield generator is now added, meaning that it prevents damage when you're getting shot at, right? And then the reverse hipfire has improved, meaning that the shots you need to max your hipfire accuracy has been reduced to 14. It was originally 21. The Devotion is an absolute monster. If you're not picking up this weapon, I don't know what you're doing. This weapon is so strong right now. Please pick it up when you see it. Our second to last monster that we have is the Peacekeeper. Now, similar to the way that the Mastiff got a huge buff this season, the Peacekeeper did as well. Instead of doing 9s per pellet, you're now doing 11s, and you shoot less pellets overall, so that way you're maximizing the amount of damage you're doing per enemy that you shoot. Also, the blast pattern has changed. Instead of being a star and you kind of miss a little bit with a star pattern, it's now like a V. So it matches the way that the hitboxes kind of match, so that way you're maximizing as much accuracy as possible. Try the Peacekeeper out this season. I guarantee you'll be hitting your shots just like these clips right here. Plus, shotguns also got a huge buff this season where you can carry 20 per stack, not 16. Now the weapon that needs no introduction, the R301. Now this weapon has always been at the top of the food chain, the cream of the crop, the quintessential weapon of Apex Legends. What do we think? R301. But guess what? This season, it got a buff. Yeah, it got a buff. The magazines now have been changed, meaning that at base, you had 18, now it's at 21. You had 20, now it's at 23. At blue, you have 25, but now it's at 28. And purple gold, you went from 28 to 31, meaning overall, you get 3 extra bullets. And you know how you always get people to one shot? Well, not anymore. The R301 will laser beam every single person that you fight, and it doesn't matter. That you can use this gun from long range, mid range, you can use it as an SMG if you wanted to. Close range, the hipfire is insane for this. So overall, the R301 keeps its place at number 1, and nothing will ever surpass it. This is the best weapon in the entire existence of Apex Legends. So that is the weapons tier list of Season 22 of Apex Legends. If you did enjoy the video and learn something, please consider leaving a like, subscribe, or a comment and share it with your friends. Here are some more guides that you might find informative, and if there's anything specifically that you want to see from me, please comment that down below and I'll try to make a video on it when I can. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and please never forget to take care.